Oh, I was just going to jot that down. Yeah, BCDR. When does the BC end? Or the DR, I guess, end and the BC pick up. Okay.
And
Yeah.
then I basically anything that is like a multi-step process. So RMF, I don't know the exact. I know there's like 6 or 7 steps to that. No idea.
Yeah. That was one of the pieces of feedback we've gotten, is doing a session specifically on frameworks would be helpful.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. What else stands out to you?
Software development lifecycle. I know there's waterfall, but I don't know all the steps.
Yeah.
I know Agile is supposed to be consistently willing to jump to each different, like it's supposed to be consistently able to jump back to previous steps. And then Spiral is just never stopping, I guess. But Waterfall, I don't know the steps in order.
Yeah, you're pretty close on all of those. So waterfall, you're planning out the whole project pretty much from the beginning. Usually it's for well-defined projects, maybe that have been done in the past. For an example, an audit is one that's kind of common. You do audits, they're generally the same way every time. There might be different pieces of evidence or different people, but the waterfall method is nice because it's predictable. Agile usually all operate in what are called sprints. It's really common in software development because it's very iterative. So they'll go in cycles. So we'll plan out a couple of week period of what our work is going to look like. It's in line with our performance objectives, but we understand that the project is always changing. So that's kind of the distinguishment there. I don't know if that's helpful between those two. And then Spiral, like you said, you're coming back to those steps and kind of circling through a cycle of improvement.
Okay.
Alex and Robert, howdy. How's it going?
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hi. Alex, I'm not sure that you and I have met, and Robert, forgive me, I'm not 100% sure that you and I have met either. My name's Josh. Refresh my memory. Is this your first time here? Have you guys been here before?
Nice to meet you, Josh. This is actually my second time attending the group, so nice to meet you.
Outstanding. And Robert, did I hear you say first time for you?
No, actually, this is my third time.
Third time. You were on with me a week ago, right?
Yeah, about a week ago.
Yeah, okay, that's right. Well, awesome. Oh, it's helpful having a face to the name. That really definitely helps. Alex, where are you working from, man? You got the space background and aquarium.
Yeah, yeah, I'm in space, man.
Yeah, where do you sit in the world?
So I'm in Michigan.
Right on. Okay.
It's pretty close to Detroit, so.
Nice. Well, let's see. Well, you guys, boy, you're early. Good job. I'm really proud of you guys. Usually we're waiting a couple minutes for people to trickle in. Alex, tell me a little bit about what brings you here. How far along are you in your CISSP journey? What do you do for work? I'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I work for Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan. Okay. I work as a desk side network support technician.
Yeah.
So I'm really passionate about cybersecurity. As well as some of the advancements in AI lately. And, ultimate goal is to go into the field of cybersecurity engineering.
Yeah.
I see a real future there. So, I'm not too far along, to be perfectly honest with you.
Good. That's a great place to be.
Just started reading the CISSP exam cram 5th edition.
Okay.
So, I'm like probably a little over 100 pages deep.
Good job. That's great.
Yeah.
Hi, Coretta. Welcome. Hey, Coretta. Oh, thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah, awesome. Coretta, welcome to the group. I think you were on a call with me about a week ago as well, so I'm glad to see you back. Alex, do you have domains that you suspect are going to be a little tricky or that you're a little nervous about jumping into? Is pretty new material for you?
To be perfectly honest with you, it's still like, it's basically kind of a refresher from some of the stuff I studied in undergrad and graduate school.
Nice. Good. That's how it is for a lot of people. They have a lot of experience and knowledge on surrounding a couple of domains. A couple they've maybe studied for other certifications or, like you said, in college, and just needs a refresher on. There's usually a couple domains, like for me, and I think Jarrett was saying this too. Cliff, who just joined, we've talked about this. Software lifecycle is something that's kind of a weak domain for all of us because we haven't worked in that domain, I guess. Yeah. Awesome. Cheryl, Cliff, Rebecca, it's awesome to see y'all. Thanks for being here tonight. We'll give people a couple more minutes. Paul, my man, good to see you.
Hey, Josh, how's it going? Thanks.
It's going well. I'm glad to be here. I want to apologize to you guys all first off because I was not here on Tuesday and Vincent and I connected late in the day and both of us had conflicts come up last minute. So I just want to apologize to you guys because our commitment is to be here on time and prepared every time. And if something does come up, that we at least give you a 24-hour notice or something like that. So I'm sorry. I know that that kind of puts you guys on the spot. Hopefully you guys were able to make the most out of the time if you guys were here. But I just wanted to issue my apology for that because I enjoy being here. I love it. So.
Were you absent? Because I didn't notice. I think the AI did a good job of mimicking.
That deep fake.
Yeah, just messing with you.
Awesome. Cool. Well, we've got some new people here. Welcome. I'll do a quick introduction. My name is Josh. I've worked in cybersecurity for most of my career. I started out working with the intelligence community and some Fortune 500 companies. I have my master's degree and I'm CISSP certified. So Vincent, one of the leaders of the group, I'm not sure if he'll be able to join us tonight. Hi, Will. Hi, April. Oh, April, I'm so glad you're on. I sent you a message earlier. I got some stuff just for you.
Oh, really? Okay, I'll check it out. Thank
Perfect.
you.
Yeah.
Howdy.
Yeah. Hey, Will. So he started this group really because he was pursuing his CISSP, and we want the community together because we can all learn from each other. My commitment to you is I'm gonna bring some good material here. If I don't know the answer to something, I'm not gonna mislead you or misspeak or take my best guess unless I tell you it's my best guess. I want to make sure you're getting good information. So I've got a list of questions off to the side. So if you tell me something that I don't know, we're just going to jot it down. That's how we're going to start off, is going through some of the questions that we ended off on last week. So pause anytime and ask questions, and I'm going to just pause actually right here. Anyone got any questions or things they're really hoping we can have time to chat about today or next Tuesday? Okay, cool. I'm also I have some polls for test questions tonight. I'm kind of new to running polls, so you guys might have to help me out. All right, so at the end of our last session, Jarrett brought up something awesome. So you guys have heard me, or most of you heard me talk about when you come up to a CISSP question, sometimes it's helpful to get in the mind of the test question writer. What types of thinking are they trying to get you to work at? And I liked to use the example of strategic, and then I mistakenly said operational and then tactical thinking. And Jared corrected me last week and I'll throw this in the chat. It's STA. Jared, thank you again, man. I do not take correction personally. It just makes us all better. Strategic, tactical, operational. So what do I mean by this? I'm going to pull up a whimsical board here. I think I might have some notes on it for us. Oh, I don't have the notes on this one. That's okay. So for these, we're going to go through some practice questions. And the idea is when you get a question, most of us coming from a technician background, working our way into management or more senior or mid-level roles. So it's a change of thinking for us. That's what the CISSP is designed for, is to prepare us for those management types of decisions, the big picture stuff. And they understand our inclination to answer at the technician level. So when you get questions, sometimes you know the answer, or you know what's practical or solutionable, what you've talked about, what you've seen maybe in the news, and that might be correct from an implementation standpoint, but not from a level of thinking of strategic or operational, which would be kind of that managerial level. So we're going to go through a couple of practice questions here that I'm hopeful will illustrate this a little bit more. Is that all right? Hang tight with me just a second. I want to make sure I'm doing the right one. Okay, so I'm launching a poll for you guys. I'll read the question out loud. We'll go through it. I want you guys to vote. Take a guess. I don't care if it's wrong. We're going through this so you can get it wrong here and not on the exam. So which of the following best describes the primary purpose of implementing an enterprise-wide risk management program? Okay, so go ahead and read through the questions a little bit. And then we're going to pause, and I want you to try and identify the level of thinking. So you can go back to the chat if you need to. It's that acronym STA. Are they wanting to think like maybe a C-level executive, director of InfoSec type perspective? Are we operational and kind of in the middle? Excuse me. Thank you, Jared. Again, I appreciate it. I'm going to have to break some habits here. Are we at that tactical level, right in the medium, where we're thinking like a manager? How do I need processes or systems to help my people do their work? Are we thinking at that operational level where we're actually on the floor doing the work, hands on keyboard? So I got some votes. Coming in. All right. Who is willing to be brave and justify their answer?
I pick C.
Awesome. Why'd you pick C?
Because every organization's risk appetite is different. I mean, you know, Apple's risk appetite is going to be different than a mom and pop shop, you know?
Yeah, that's exactly right. We have to be able to identify what is our risk tolerance? What is the impact of different things on our business? Not all risks carry equal weight for all businesses. Yeah, you're exactly right. So why is it not B, to ensure compliance with all regulatory requirements? Someone other than Alex, tell me why B would be a wrong answer here.
I thought it was a little bit tricky at first, to be honest with you. I was contemplating whether to pick B or not, but I mean, organizations are so large nowadays. I figure that you know, they're with their risk appetite being so big or so small, depending on the size of the business, all their security postures are going to be different. So I figured it'd be more of an appropriate answer.
No, that's exactly right. That's exactly right.
We're more complete, to be honest.
It's more complete. And
Yes.
Paul, did you have something? I heard someone maybe jumping in on that.
Yeah, this is Sarah. So we're not doing the risk or whatever the security controls or risk. It's only for the regulatory compliance, to meet the regulatory compliance. This is much more than that. For example, if you don't have a regulatory compliance, then you're not doing any of this. That is not appropriate.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. I'm a compliance analyst in my role, and we're moving towards one compliance requirement, and it adds a whole bunch of work on top of our plate. We would be a fool to add more work onto our plate that isn't unnecessary, and we determine that based on our risk appetite. What do we need, and what do our clients require, that sort of a thing. So this is kind of a strategic level thinking. What is important in the business? So that's from a risk management program. If that question were phrased at, say, the tactical or operational level, it might have questions about business continuity or disaster recovery, of like, what are your processes surrounding risk management? So let's go on to another question that I'm hopeful will also help this a little bit. Okay. So I think I saw some people in the chat. Everyone get squared away on being able to view the questions. There's a bunch of shapes in the corner. Is everyone good to go on that? I'll take that as a yes. Okay. During the development of an incident response plan, what is the primary consideration for ensuring the plan's effectiveness? Okay. Pause and forget the answers for a second. Let's just look at the questions. What are a couple of the words that tell you that this is a strategic versus a tactical versus operational level of thinking? What are some key words in here?
Development.
Nice. Yeah. I don't see my CEO developing a whole lot of stuff. He might be, doing the strategy behind it, checking alignments or requirements for that sort of a thing, but he's going to tell the manager, go develop me a plan that does this. I don't have time for it. I don't know what to do with it. Go develop it for me. It's not the tactical, it's not the operational person, the person hands-on keyboard that's developing the plan. They're going to be implementing it, or going to be key in implementing it. So I see some people answering. I only see one person. You guys are braver than that.
Sorry, it's me. I'm running a little behind here.
Yep, keep it going. Keep it going.
I missed the answer. I'm sorry. What was the answer?
I haven't told you yet.
Oh, okay, got it. Sorry, I was typing as well. So
You know what? I don't. Okay, yeah, we went through the answer for A. Okay. Okay, good. We got a split. Awesome. What's another key word in this? There's one more that I'd like to have someone call out. Okay, I'm gonna end the poll.
Plan? Either plan or effectiveness?
Effectiveness. That's the word I was looking for. Yeah, excellent. Effectiveness. So when we're thinking about effectiveness, who in the company do you think is most impacted by work when it's not going very smoothly? Is it the technician, the person who's hands on keyboard? Is it the manager who's kind of overseeing the people on keyboard and translating higher thoughts? Or is it the people who are telling the other people what to do? Who wants to take a stab at that? What is effectiveness most important to?
Management.
Management, yeah, exactly. And that's such a hard question, guys. And this is why just taking a step back, taking your time on some questions, just practice this. You're not going to go through this process on all the questions. Yeah, this is the management level. We're not talking about strategy, regulatory, law, compliance. We're not talking about how do you respond quickly to incident response, what are the best notification methods. We're talking about how do we make sure that this plan I made actually works? How do I cover my ass and make sure what I told the management I can do, that it's actually working? So effectiveness also is key to this answer. How do we make sure that it's going to be effective? Training and awareness is strong. It is a strong answer, and I get the inclination to do that. It can really improve it, but we're looking at the effectiveness. Usually they're going to back up on metrics for some of this. So hold on, let me look at my notes here for 1 second, because I think I written a note from the wrong thing here. Okay, yeah. So the answer, I'll end the poll here. It is C, the establishing of roles and responsibilities. So we're focusing on the plan here. The plan is going to include training and awareness to help people understand the plan, but we're going to develop the plan. When we're developing it, it will include, as a part of the plan, regular training and awareness, but we have to have roles and responsibilities for the incident management team. Nothing else is going to implement the effectiveness more than that. We can train people all we want, but if they don't know their role or their requirement or responsibility in an incident response team, then that's not going to go very smoothly for them. So great job on B, because that's going to 100% be a part of the plan. Okay, we're going to do one more on this. What is the primary purpose of conducting regular access reviews in an organization? First of all, what do I mean by an access review? What is an access review?
Basically, when they look at user accounts, make sure that there's no, I forgot the term, but they basically review your account and your rights and privileges.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a handful of things that could mean. You're exactly right. And that's kind of what it's asking. What is the primary purpose of it? And there's a handful of things that it does. You're exactly right, Paul. So we're looking for the most important. Because is it A, to identify and remove inactive user accounts? I sure hope so. I sure hope you're doing that. Is it to ensure compliance with data retention policies? Could be, probably not. That's a little less related. There could be data compliance at play, but it's a lot less likely. Asset inventory, we're talking about access control, so probably not that one. So you guys are all on the right track. What is a term or an acronym that they're really implying in the answer C? There's a specific term. Appropriate access levels based on their job roles. What do people love to call that?
Least access or least privilege?
You're right on track. That's the principle behind what we're talking about, Jarrett. You're exactly right. So what we're talking about, roles and levels of access, this is role-based access control. So you have your IT team. They're going to get a different set of permissions and accounts than your sales team is. I don't have access to my sales team's info because it has a bunch of client information that is completely irrelevant to my job. It has finance stuff, completely irrelevant to my job. Likewise, they don't have admin privileges on their computer. It's not relevant to their job. They don't need it. So role-based access control is critical to what this function is. So let's pause. What's I'll end the poll here. I guess we're done with that. But who can tell me what discretionary access is control on the flip side of that?
Limited access.
Could be. Will?
It's when everybody assigns access to their own files to everybody else. So it's a big spaghetti mess.
It's a spaghetti mess. Discretionary access control is a fancy word from saying do whatever the hell you want. It's you assign permissions ad hoc, pretty much. There's not a system behind it, and it gets really messy really quickly because you can have rogue accounts with rogue permissions that you just don't know because you're doing them ad hoc one at a time. So for small organizations, that's how they do it. And discretionary access control can be similar, of like you just have a couple of accounts and you're not too worried about it.
I'm sorry, quick question. Isn't Microsoft domain based on discretionary, or no? Am I thinking something else?
I'm not sure, Paul. Maybe you'd message me your question and I can look into that for you.
Active Directory? Are you asking about Active Directory?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will find out.
Active Directory.
That's all right. I was just asking in general. No, don't hold up the.
Yeah, Active Directory it does use roles and groups. So it could be role-based access control, unless you don't use the roles or groups. Then it's just discretionary access control, essentially. So it kind of depends at what level your systems and processes are in place for. Like for me at my home, I don't have Active Directory. Technically, there's users and groups, but it's me and my wife on the system. So it's discretionary access control, even though it's fully capable of being role-based access control, even if I just put both users in a single group and then have my separate admin account. So it can be present on both. It's more about how you're using them and making sure the roles and groups are in place. Okay, April. I'm glad you're here because we got some stuff to talk about. Okay, so last week, one of April's questions, let me get my notes up here. It's frozen. My notes are frozen. Okay. So April was asking about the concepts behind email signatures, encryption, non-repudiation, what is a message digest and how does it come into play, concepts of non-repudiation and authenticity. So we're going to go through that a little bit. I know some of these concepts you've gone through a couple of times, and I want to just take our time on it. We're going to go through a couple of examples because I want you to get really comfortable with PKI. Who can tell me what PKI stands for?
Public key infrastructure.
Awesome. Thank you, April. Perfect. So I want you guys to be real comfortable with that so that you don't have to spend a bunch of time in a test question trying to remember, oh, is that Bob's public key? So let me get a visual up here. Don't let me forget, guys, I got a couple of practice questions for us on this too. I don't want to forget to go over them. Okay. You guys see my mess here?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. So we're going to have Bob send an email to Alice, and we're going to have Bob use the PKI. It's, private key infrastructure. We're going to have him use PKI. So let's start out with talking about public and private keys. Who can tell me why we would bring certificate authorities up in the conversation of a public and private key? What is the relationship between the two? A certificate authority and public or private keys. Is there a relationship? There might not be.
Well,
Yeah, take a stab at it.
go ahead.
No, go ahead. You started first.
Okay, so certificate authorities they hold they're like the authority to to back the key to ensure that it is in fact the person's public key. So they're an entity that handles that, and they have the another piece of the entity that goes out and actually verifies the information that that owner is the key. So the certificate authority manages the key. It's like
Absolutely.
a-
Yeah, you nailed that, April. That's perfect. Okay, I don't have a poll for this, but I want to ask you a question. Two of the four are part of what a certificate authority is most valuable for to us. Two of the four. Which two would you say are most important? There's one that's like absolutely critical, and there's another one that's pretty darn important.
Authenticity.
Authenticity. Absolutely. Chris, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm not sure if we've met. I'm Josh. Good to meet you. You nailed it. Authenticity. This person is who they say they are. So I, Josh, go up to certificate authority. I go to DigiCert or something like that and say, hey, I have a company and I want to be able to prove to the world that when they go to my website that I am who I say I am. And when I send an email, I want them to know that it's me who's doing the talking. Authenticity. Absolutely. Now, the other piece of what April was saying is the availability piece. And this is kind of minor. This is, don't focus on this piece for the test question, but what a certificate authority does is they make available your public certificate, vouching that it is you. So when someone goes to your website or sends an email, that they can validate that. So it's not you asking, hey, Alice, could you send me your public key? I'm ready to communicate with you. A certificate authority is what manages that. So you go to google.com. If you look up in the browser corner by the lock, you can actually look at the certificate, and you can look at the different root certificates. You can tell me what the difference is between a root certificate authority and like an intermediate. What's the difference? So
Root is the top level, and intermediate is signed by the CEO.
yeah, that's exactly right. So I'll put AWS. Who knows another certificate authority offhand? I'm gonna
DigiCert.
Komodo.
Komodo. Perfect. Okay, so that's good there. I'm making this up, so don't get antsy when I'm wrong on this, guys. So we're just going to illustrate a point here. So let's pretend AWS is my root certificate authority. I know my notes are kind of crammed over the top of each other. Thanks for your guys' patience. AWS is going to be our root. DigiCert and Komodo, we're going to pretend are just intermediate certificate authorities. So if I go with my company, JB, and I go to Komodo and say, hey, I want a certificate. They give me a certificate. Well, great. Anyone that trusts Komodo now trusts me. There's an inherited trust that comes from that relationship between roots and something else. Now, not between an intermediate and anything that's below it, and likewise with the root. If I go up to AWS and I say, hey, I'm JB, I want a cert, and they issue me a cert. Now, if I also have, or AWS has it set up so DigiCert and Komodo are automatically trusted by AWS, I don't have to go out to every single intermediate authority and get their cert, basically their trust seal of the way I validate things. I just go to the root and add that, and they can add the intermediaries that are needed there. So it's a little complicated and not something, well, it's not necessarily complicated, but just beware roots and anything below certificates are inherited, or trust is inherited. Likewise, if you don't have the roots, but you're added somewhere else, it's not inherited anywhere above there. So how does this relate? Let's actually get into our Alice and Bob email. So Alice and Bob have ready access to their public keys, to each other's public keys, because they have a certificate authority. So Bob wants to send Alice an email here. Whose key does Bob use to encrypt the email if he wants to ensure confidentiality?
Is it asymmetric or is it symmetric?
We're going to go asymmetric in this time. So in this example, this is fully asymmetric. Maybe later on we add a symmetric key, but for now, we're just going to focus on this so we can really understand this.
Okay.
Yeah, Will just mentioned if whenever you're not speaking, if you would just put yourself on mute, sometimes there's some feedback on there. Yeah, okay, so we want to encrypt the email to ensure confidentiality. Whose signature are we going to use to do that encryption? Bob's going to send the email to Alice. Let me get an arrow on there too. I don't know how to draw an arrow.
Is it Bob's?
Bob's public or private?
Sorry.
It's private.
Private.
Bob's private. Okay, let's take that example. So we're going to encrypt the email with Bob's private key. So now it's encrypted. Who can decrypt this email? What key is used to decrypt it?
If it's just his private key, then only he would be able to decrypt it, because as of right now, I don't want to jump too far ahead, but we're going to need Alice's public key so that she can use her private key to decrypt it.
So it's a little tricky. It's a little tricky. I'm going to walk you through a couple of examples here. Now, first, let's just say Bob encrypts the email and he says, I'm going to use my private key to encrypt it. The only key that can decrypt Bob's private key is his public key. And the only key that could decrypt anything encrypted by Bob's public key is his private key. They're a key pair, and so they have to both be used together. They each have to be used independently. So you can't use the private twice or the public twice. That would just be double encrypting it or double decrypting it, or how that would work. So you have to use the pair between the two. So if we encrypt using a blue, we have to decrypt using a blue. If we encrypt using a red, we have to decrypt using a red. So if we encrypted using Bob's private key, and it can only be decrypted using Bob's public key, well, this is readily available. So what we did here actually was we validated integrity. We know that Bob sent it because it was encrypted with Bob's public key. He's the only person in the world that can do that. And anyone in the world could decrypt it, but only with Bob's public key. So that's a way we validate integrity. And we're going to come back to that because you're not wrong. There is a scenario when we do that. It's just not on the email text. Okay, so instead of encrypting with Bob's private key, who else, what a key do we want to maybe encrypt it with so that only
Alice, it would be Alice's public key.
Alice's public.
Bingo. We have to keep them paired. And Alice is the only person we want to be able to decrypt this because we want it to be confidential. So if this is the only key that can decrypt it and we have to match them up, this is the only red one. So yeah, and you're exactly right. We're going to encrypt it using Alice's public. So let's just back up a second. Bob wants to send an email to Alice. He wants it to be confidential. No one else but Alice gets to read this email. So he's going to get her public key through the certificate authority, and that's what he uses to encrypt it. Question: can Bob decrypt this email once he's encrypted it? No, but he encrypted it. Why can't he?
No repudiation?
Yeah,
He doesn't have the private.
He doesn't have Alice's private key. Yeah, he can encrypt away. Anyone can. Anyone can encrypt anything they want using Alice's public key. And they can send it to anyone they want too. But the only key they can decrypt that is Alice's private key. So yeah, bingo. You guys got that. All right. So we know that if Bob wants to send an email to Alice, he's going to encrypt it with Alice's public key, and Alice is going to use her private key to decrypt it. So we got the message text. So that's the body of the message, whatever's in that email. All right. So let's come over to here. Let's talk about digital signatures. April, you brought up specifically message digests. We've talked about hashes quite a bit the last couple of weeks. Who can tell me what a message digest is? A message digest.
Is it
like
the
the
hash
hash
of the
of the
entire
message?
message?
Yeah. Okay, it's a little bit of a trick question. Is a message digest a hash every time? Yes or no?
I'm gonna go with yes.
Yeah, bingo.
Yeah.
Yeah, a message digest is a hash of that message. So you take the email, whatever that is, and you're going to run it through a cryptographic hashing algorithm, like let's just say it's SHA-1. So it's encrypted, or excuse me, it's hashed then, and then that is the message digest. So another question, is a hash always a message digest? Yes or no?
No.
Oh,
No. Yeah, bingo. A message digest is a type of hash. There's lots of different use cases for a hash, but a message digest is very unique to digital signatures. It's the hash of the email. Now, this is something I'm just going to tell you that I don't know the answer to this. I don't know if the message digest is already encrypted or not. I don't think so. My understanding of a message digest is that it has not been encrypted yet, and it's just the hash of the message. But I could be wrong on that. I'm not sure that a test will get into that level of detail, but they will get into the level of detail we're about to go on to. So I'm going to just pause for a second. Does anyone have any questions before we go any deeper into hashes?
Yeah, I have a question. So why wouldn't the message digest be a hash? A hash if the hash is a message digest.
Yeah. So let's do an example here. Give me a second so that I can grab, give me just one sec, guys. Okay. I'm going to share another window with you guys here. I like to see stuff. I don't know about you guys. Okay. So an online hashing calculator. These are all examples of hashing algorithms that you've seen. So SHA is the most important one that you guys have seen around. MD5 is another one that you'll see. It's deprecated from a security standpoint because of attacks like hash clash or things like that. But it still is used quite a lot. The SHAs are used pretty heavily. Who can tell me what the 256 in SHA-256 means?
256 bits or?
Bingo. Nice. Nicely done. Okay. So, important email. We're going to hash it, and we'll use SHA-256. So this is a hash right here. This also, technically, is a message digest, sort of. The only difference is in an actual email, there'll be a bunch of metadata, and that would kind of be included within this hash. So we'll pretend this is metadata, and we'll hash it. Okay, so this now is our message digest. If this is not in the context of an email signature, then it's just a hash. But when we apply the context of this is going at the end of an email, and this is exactly the type of data that we have hashed, then it's a message digest. It just means something a little bit more specific there. Okay, I'm going to put an exclamation mark here. Who can tell me what's going to happen to this hash? How many of these characters should change? Is it like one character? I didn't do very much to it.
everything
All
should
of it.
change.
It'll completely change. Is this going to be longer or shorter?
It shouldn't
Same.
change, I don't
Same
think.
size.
Exactly. Okay, you guys said 256 bits. This does not look like 256. What am I missing?
That's not bits.
It's a bite size.
Bingo. Okay, good job, guys. I'm just testing you. Okay, let's go back to. All right, here we are.
Sorry, real fast, because
Yeah, fire away, Jared.
I just wanted clarification on that last answer. Because my answer was going to be it's in hexadecimal, but is that not the answer?
So it is hex. You're correct. It is hexadecimal, so it just translates to the binary. So the only reason it's not 256 is you're exactly right. It's just
Okay.
translating that.
Sorry.
Nope, you're correct. Thank you for confirming. Did everyone catch that? Does everyone
No.
kind of
Yeah, can you repeat that? That was going to ask.
absolutely? Let's
It's 256 zeros and ones.
256 zeros and
Okay.
yeah. So it's 256 zeros and ones, but it's expressed, like Jarrett said, in hexadecimal notation. So I have not taught anything on hexadecimal notes.
Because it's bits, not byte.
Yes. And so hexadecimal. So we have in base 10, we have 1, 2, well, I guess starting at 0, whatever.
So it turns in from a bit to a byte, actually.
Yeah, it just translates. So if we
Once-
have the number 9, that translates into something in binary. If we have the letter A, that also translates into binary. So hexadecimal goes all the way through F, I think. So it'll go all the way there. Does it start at 0?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, thank you. So hexadecimal, yeah, if you see anything in this notation, it's hexadecimal, and that just correlates to the number. It's two bytes, 16 bits, right? Did I get that right?
I think so.
Okay, that sounds right to me. All right, cool. Let's go on to any more questions on that. Does that make sense? I know we didn't go deep into hexadecimal stuff. We're not really planning on that.
Yes, it does.
Cool. I can't see your guys' faces, so stop me if you do have a question. I can't see like the raise hand.
Okay, so just to clarify, because we were asking why is not every hash a message digest? When you create a hash of a RAID backup for verification purposes, that is not a message digest?
That's a good question. That's a good question. Well, I don't know the answer to that because it's possible you're right. That's not a use case I've heard distinctly, but I'm not going to tell you you're wrong because that's another unique use case, something very specific. So it's possible that could apply in that standard. So let me just real quick and make sure I get your question down because that's a really good question. Okay. So Will asked message digest also on RAID backups. And so just in more general terms, what Will is asking, and Will, please correct me if I'm not interpreting this correctly, but so when you take a backup, one of the things you want to ensure is integrity. Did this backup ever change? That could be something malicious. It also could just be degradation, something like that. So taking a hash of that is how we can validate it, because 10 years later, if we take a hash again, it should still be that exact same value unless something has changed. So it's possible in that context of data validation, again, a specific scenario to use hashing, that could also be called a message digest. So to answer your question, well, I don't know, but that's good thinking, and it very well could be. Sorry, I don't have a more accurate answer for you there.
Thanks.
Yeah. Okay. So we have gone over the email text, and it's now encrypted. Now I guess let's move the encrypted text over there. All right. So Bob sent it over, and we ensured confidentiality. Is integrity ensured by this? Integrity. Can Alice be 100% certain that nothing in the email that Bob sent her has been changed by, say, Evil Bob sneaking up a little?
Yes, because it's been hashed.
So
Using certain things.
that's exactly right. It does not ensure integrity unless we have the message digest or the hash. You're exactly right. The encryption itself, this key pair, does not ensure confidentiality, and it does not ensure authenticity either, because anyone has Alice's public key, and that's how Bob encrypted it. And so JB or Evil Bob could come up here and encrypt something with Alice's public key, send it to her claiming to be Bob, and just looking at the PKI side of things, who would know? Who would know? Because he did it the right way. So that's where signatures come in. So we've gotten the confidentiality piece out of the way with this. So let's go look at the integrity and authenticity piece. Define authenticity for me. How is it different than identification? Or not
Integrity.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Let's go with that. Actually, just tell me what authentication was. There was another word that
I think authenticity is proving who you say you are, and then there's authorization, which is proving what permissions you should have.
Authorization. Perfect. That was the other word I was missing, Jared. Thank you. Okay. So we want to make sure that whatever we do next tells Alice when she gets the email, I know Bob sent this to me. No one else but Bob could have sent it to me. And I know it hasn't been changed. It's exactly what Bob intended to send me. So let's focus on the authenticity piece first. Alice wants only Bob to have been able to send an email. Let me rephrase that question. When Alice decrypts that email, she wants to make sure that the only person that could have encrypted it was Bob. So we're going to look at Bob's private key on this. So we're going to do our hash. So we take, I'm going to just, put this down here. So we have our message digest. For now, let's pretend that this is unencrypted. So a message digest. Let's not take Bob's private key into this yet. Bob, all he does is, like April suggested, he wants to make sure that integrity is affirmed. So he sends her the encrypted message. He signed it using Alice's public key, so we don't have authenticity established yet. But if we have an unencrypted message digest, that validates integrity, because they would have to change the message digest too, which they can't until we, again, get into signatures, which is why we encrypt the hash. Because otherwise, evil Bob could encrypt it and put a hash at the bottom saying, here's how you know it's what Bob meant to send you, even though he just put in his own hash. So we have to encrypt this to make sure that only Bob could have been the one to have sent it. So Bob is going to encrypt the message digest with his private key. Now, the message digest, does this have confidentiality or not?
Yes,
Why does it have confidentiality? Tell me.
because only Bob can unencrypt it.
Close. So it actually doesn't. So it's tricky because we encrypted it. Bob encrypted it using his private key. So technically, if we look at the information, it's all gobbledygook. So yeah, it's sort of confidential, but he encrypted it using his private key. The only key that can decrypt it now is his public key. So it's not actually really all that private. Does it need to be though? What is the purpose of a message digest? Is it related at all to confidentiality?
Well, if it's been hashed, that would imply integrity also, right?
Yeah, exactly. So the message digest is the hash, so it's validating integrity. Again, nothing with confidentiality yet. We're going to encrypt the message digest, but only because we want to make sure that Bob is the one that signed, or that is the one that encrypted it. It's just to validate the authenticity piece. So in any of the test questions that you get, message digest doesn't have anything to do with confidentiality. It might trick you up because there's encryption going on all around it. It's being encrypted and unencrypted. The message is being encrypted and unencrypted, which is confidentiality. But the message digest, all it is for is integrity, making sure the message is what Bob's claimed it to be, and authenticity. It definitely came from Bob, but there's nothing to do with confidentiality. So let's take a different use case. Bob doesn't want to encrypt the email. He doesn't care. He's going to send it to the whole world. This is from Bob. I'm an important fella, and I don't need to hide myself, so I'm going to just send it. Confidentiality doesn't matter. What is the purpose of the message digest, or just his digital signature? So the message digest, you understand, when we're encrypting it and we're going through this process, now we're just talking about a digital signature. So Bob signs his email. It's not encrypted. Anyone can read it. What does a digital signature do for us again? I know we're hammering this in, but I want to hear it one more time from you guys.
Authenticity.
Authenticity, and what else? What's one other thing?
I thought it was non-repudiation, right?
Ooh, non-repudiation. Okay, let's come back to that. There's one other thing.
Integrity.
And integrity. Awesome. Thanks, Paul. Okay, non-repudiation. what is that related to in terms of authenticity? Someone can explain that to me, I bet.
That's basically so someone can't deny that they sent or received basically an email.
Perfect. You can't deny it. I cannot repudiate. I have no response in the sense that if you tell me, Josh, I know you sent me that email, I'd be like, yeah, I can't deny it. I know I sent you that email because I signed it with my private key. It's non-repudiable. I'm the only person that could have possibly signed it. Same way if I sign something, or if I encrypt something using your public key and send it to you, if it gets decrypted, it's only because you decrypted it. No one else could have done that. So there's non-repudiation at play there. Non-repudiation is important in a lot of concepts, and non-repudiation is linked to authenticity in that way, because we want to make sure that every request is authenticated and we have an audit trail or a log, so that when we go back and we're looking at logs in some incident, that you can't deny you did something. Okay, so let's go over here and take a look at this chart. So what happens when I encrypt using? We're going to fill this in a little bit. So Alice's private key. If I encrypt something using Alice's private key, who can decrypt it?
Alice.
Right.
Alice, for sure. Who else can? What key is used to decrypt something that's encrypted by Alice's private key?
Anyone can decrypt it when they have the public key.
That's exactly right. So if we encrypt it using Alice's private key, anyone can decrypt it, because the only thing that can decrypt it is Alice's public key. Okay, so now what happens if someone encrypts something with Alice's public key? Who can decrypt it?
Alice.
Alice, that's exactly right. The only key that can decrypt it is Alice's private, and if she's doing a good job, then she's the only one that can do it. All right, Bob should make sense. Who can decrypt anything that's encrypted with Bob's private key?
Anyone.
Anyone.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and someone can get the answer for this for me. Alice, right?
Bob.
Oh, Bob. Okay, good. All right, you guys are paying attention. All right. Confidentiality. If I encrypt, or if Alice encrypts something using her private key, is the content confidential?
No.
No, exactly, because it can be decrypted by anyone. So it aligns pretty closely with this. Decryption and confidentiality is the point here. So we won't go through this column. Let's go on to integrity. Is the information integrous? Could it have been altered in transit? Could there have been a man-in-the-middle attack in play? Could there have been data decay? Anything like that? Do we know this is what it's supposed to be?
Yes.
Okay. Why is that?
Being that it can be decrypted by anybody, you can use man-in-the-middle or pass the hash on that key and lose the integrity of the keys sent into the next person.
Yeah, you're on the right track there, Alton. So for integrity, if I encrypt something using Alice's private key, well, if Alice encrypts something using her private key and sends it to me, I can decrypt it using her public key. Now, who is the only person who could have encrypted it? It's Alice. So yeah, I have integrity that's affirmed there. Because we know that Alice is the only one that could have encrypted that if she does encrypt it with her private key. Now, I have a question. Why, if I'm going to send an email to Alex and I don't want anyone else to read it, but I know it's integrous, why don't I just sign it with my private key and send it over to him? He can decrypt it just fine, and it's integrous. What's the problem if I if I encrypt an email with my private key that I'm sending to someone else?
It's not secret.
Yeah, anyone can decrypt it. So if it's intercepted, integrity is violated. So you might know it came from me because it's integrous, which is again why we have that message digest in the signature. Okay. What about this? I encrypt something using Alice's public key and I email it to her. Does that have integrity? Yes or no?
That's confident. That's confidence. Doesn't have integrity.
Doesn't have integrity. Perfect. Yeah, it doesn't have integrity. Why? Anyone could send anything to Alice and encrypt it using her public key. She has no idea who it's from. It could be changed. It doesn't matter because someone could get the email and change and insert their own stuff and then re-encrypt it, and put the hash at the bottom so it looks nice and pretty, and then send it on. But it's not integrous. Anyone could have altered it. Okay. Authenticity. We'll go through just Alice for now because you guys are on a roll. All right. So Alice encrypts an email using her private key and sends it to Bob. Is authenticity validated here?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Tell me why.
Because they can decrypt using who the private keys persons. Yeah.
Yep. It was encrypted using the private. So as long as her public key decrypts it, the only person that could have encrypted it is Alice. So yeah, authenticity is validated from that. All right. Alice then encrypts something using her public key and emails it to someone. Is authenticity there? Actually, I phrased that question poorly. I encrypt something using Alice's public key and I send it to her. Is there any authenticity involved in that?
No, because it's with the public key and you or anyone else could have done it.
Yeah. So there's two pieces to this. You're correct. There is not authenticity on my part that's validated because you're correct. Anyone could have signed, or keep saying signed. Anyone could have encrypted that email with Alice's public key. The only authenticity is that she's the only person that can open it. So it's a way of non-repudiation from the recipient side of things, if we wanted to do it that way. So there's different ways you can play with these keys, but you guys have answered a ton of questions on these. I'm really proud of you because I know a lot of these questions sound the same and they're going to look the same on the exam. So I just want you guys to be comfortable with how we use these. Okay. So I'm going to hammer it in even more and launch a poll for you guys. I'll stop sharing my screen here. So I'll read the question out. To verify the integrity and authenticity of a signed email, the recipient must use which of the following? The sender's private key to decrypt the digital signature, sender's public key, the recipient's private key, the recipient's public key. So I'll give you guys a second there. There's 14 of you. We're up to 1 vote. You guys can do it. I'm not going to move on until we get 5 votes. You can do it. Beautiful. All right. There's more people. You guys know I'm going to ask for someone to justify their answer too. So be thinking about why you answered that. It's okay to take your time thinking about why, especially not here. That way it's just more comfortable in an exam. Okay. One more person's got to answer. There we go. All right. Good job. Can you guys see the results of that poll? Do you guys have to click into the shapes thing? How does that look on your guys' end?
We can see the results.
Okay. Okay, cool. Awesome.
Few votes.
Beautiful, beautiful. So to verify integrity and authenticity, we want to make sure if Alice is going to send me an email, I want to make sure she's the only person that could have written that email. And I want to make sure that, I'm verifying authenticity and that the email that she wrote is exactly what she intended to send me. So to do that, I'm already thinking, I want to make sure that Alice's private key was the one that got used on this. So B is perfect. What's the opposite of her private key? Her public key, the sender's public key. And we're going to use that to decrypt the signature. So again, remember the signature is that message digest or the hash of that message. That's what gives us the integrity piece of this. And the encryption using the keys gives us the authenticity. So great job. You guys put B, perfect. The reason it's not the private key is because that's what was used to encrypt that hash. We don't have access to that. And then the recipient's private key, yeah, she could have encrypted using your public key and then sent it on to you. But that would have ensured authenticity the wrong direction. That would be more non-repudiation on the recipient side. Unless they specify recipients, I would assume sender authenticity. So great job. Okay, we're going to do another one here. To decrypt a digitally signed email, the recipient must use which of the following to view the email contents? Sender's private key to decrypt the digital signature. Sender's public key to decrypt the digital signature. Recipient's private key to decrypt the email. Recipient's public key to decrypt the email. This is very, very similar to the last question. In fact, I'm going to copy the text out of here so you can see the difference in the language. So you guys just keep doing your thing here. Okay, I put in the chat the language from the first question, the one we just did. And okay, you guys are doing good. Where we go? Decrypted digitally signed email. Okay. All righty. Let's end that. Go. Okay. Someone who put B. Tell me why it is B. Or not. Who knows? Someone stand up and justify your answer. Okay. I tried to trick you guys on this. I tried to trick you a little bit. To decrypt a digitally signed email, the recipient must use which of the following to view the email contents? What do we need the digital signature for in this question? What relationship could it have to our answer? A digital signature in relation to decrypting an email. There actually is kind of none, almost. I mean, the way they're phrasing it here, and by they I mean me, but we're decrypting the email. It happens to be digitally signed, but in the last one we were decrypting the message digest, and I think I actually left the chat question unedited in there, but no, that's right. We're not decrypting the hash in this scenario. We're going to decrypt the actual message. So it's, and sometimes we'll throw signatures or things like that in there that aren't actually relevant. It's unneeded information or information specifically designed to distract you or get you thinking about something else. For here, we're decrypting. We're focusing and decrypting the body of the email. So we're focusing on that confidentiality piece. We want to undo that. And so what we need is to use the recipient, us, our private key. So the sender would have used our public key to encrypt the email so that we're the only people that could have seen that. So we're going to use our private key to decrypt it then at that point. So does that make sense why that signature part is not really related to your answer, more just kind of a distraction there? Any questions? Okay, I'm trusting you guys to speak up on all that. Good job. All right. Which key is used to create a digital signature for an email? You guys should be able to get this one pretty good. Oh, and you guys, I just want to acknowledge we're at time. And so I'm just going to pause here. You guys can keep answering, but I really appreciate you guys being here. I'll be here for a couple more minutes so we can finish this and one other little question, but it's my commitment to start on time and end on time every time. So you guys, if you have to go, please pop smoke and head out. Thank you guys for being here and for your patience and giving me a space to practice too. Otherwise, you guys are doing great.
Hey, Josh, before you close up, is there any way that these questions that we can access them? Because they're pretty good. I'd like to go over them again on my own, just to.
Yeah. Sure thing, Paul. Yeah, I've got a list here of these, and I'll publish them in the group. Let me just get myself a note. Thank you for asking. I appreciate that.
All right, thanks. Mhm.
Cool. Yeah, great question, Paul. All right, so let's end the poll here. You guys all nailed it. Perfect. Senders, private. Whoa, wait a second. Hold on here. Which key is used to create a digital signature email? Yes. Okay, perfect. Yeah, you guys nailed it. I misread the question. All right. I got one more easy question for you guys. Well, I'm not going to say it's easy. We'll see how well you guys were all paying attention. In the context of PKI, public key infrastructure, what is the role of a certificate authority? To encrypt email content, to generate public and private key pairs, to verify the identity of entities and issue digital certificates, to store users' private keys. You guys are answering fast and furious. Well done. Can you guys see each other's answers right now already?
No, not until we answer it.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Good job, everyone. You guys nailed that. Perfect. We're verifying the identity with that. That's where we're grabbing, or the certificate authority is verifying their identity, giving them a digital certificate. The only reason it's not D is because they use the word private keys. They store or manage public keys. So awesome. Okay, that's all I had for you guys tonight. Do you guys have other questions? I've got my list for what's next. I'll just be frank with you guys. There's a lot of content that Vince and I are working on getting ready for you guys. So when you guys give me a request, I take that very seriously, and it might take me a while to get back to you. So I'm going to do my best, but I would rather have your question on my list and work to get it answered than have it just be in the ether. So any questions, any requests for next sessions?
Thanks for the
Are the questions going to be on the site? Where will I be able to access them?
I'll publish them on school somewhere.
Okay.
I'll probably like create a Google Doc or a Notion page or something like that with the questions. I'll post them, Paul.
All right, thanks.
Yeah, are you on the school platform very often? Because I'll make sure I tag you.
Usually on the days that we have the meeting. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Sounds good. Yeah, I'll get those posted and I'll tag you when I get them online.
All right, thanks.
Yeah, you betcha. Any other questions, ideas, comments, requests? Okay.
Thank you a lot. Thanks so much, Josh. It really helped.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, good class. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Josh.
Oh, you guys know I love being here. Thank you guys. I really appreciate your time because you're putting in a lot of work. I put in maybe a couple hours getting ready for this, but you guys are putting in a ton of studying. So I hope we can make your studying journey a little bit easier. So
Yes.
awesome.
Yes. Okay.
Thanks, gang.
Hey,
Sure.
Josh.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you Tuesday.
Hey, Josh.
Yeah.
I'm kind of looking for questions similar to number 2.
Questions similar to number 2. Okay. Let me get back
Where I can go practice, because I think these are the tricky questions that I wanted to understand better. I mean, all the technical ones, I think I'm okay.
Okay. Yeah. The trickier ones, definitely. I'm in alignment.
I mean, these are not technical, right? These are more managerial or something different.
Yeah. I don't have a ready resource for you right now. I'll show you one of the things that I've been using.
Password.
Time.
Password.
So let me get this up for you here. just started using this, and I'm hopeful they will get to. I'm hopeful they'll do a little bit more. They are doing a little bit more.
Oh, this is a CISSP prep. Okay.
Yeah, I didn't grab those test questions from this. I had another resource that I used, but this site has been helpful. And in general, well, how do I stop presenting? Yeah, Vincent and I are talking with someone actively trying to get a library of test questions that we can give to you guys. So I don't have a ready response for you. I'm going to work on gathering some better test questions that are more similar to this, because I find them the most helpful too. The tech stuff, a lot easier to study. This, you need practice questions.
Right. I mean, the real exam is going to be similar to that, right? Like more questions like this.
Yeah, it'll have a lot of questions like that where you kind of have to distinguish what might be the implementation side of thing that they're trying to trick you in, like the training and awareness programs, versus the managerial side, defining roles and responsibilities. So you're exactly right. They'll have an emphasis on those types of questions, just because they are, for us who are more technician oriented or from that background, it's a lot harder for us to think at that level that we're just not used to. So.
Yeah. What would be the helpful tips, like, for narrow downing that answer first? Because, like, I'm kind of like not good at that kind of tricky questions, right? When it comes to the managerial, like, obvious answers, like, we can select, but something like tricky, all answers are correct, like, that's where, like, it's problem.
It's very challenging. I'll give you the best answer I can, and I'm going to work continually on getting a better answer, but this is the answer. I'll put this in the chat as I'm typing it out. So the first thing is, on most questions, you're going to be able to identify two answers that are incorrect pretty quickly. It's not always going to be the case. Sometimes there are questions that are just like every answer could be true. And there's some you look at and it's like, I know exactly what it is. Some of these answers are stupid. So, but the first one is eliminate the wrong ones quickly if you can. And the only caution I would have for you on that is just to make sure you don't fall for those little tricks. Sometimes the most obvious answer is meant to be a trick where it's like one word. Those questions were like, which would not be the best one? You see a really good answer and just jump for it. So the first step, I would eliminate the easily. I'm trying to type and talk. Okay. Eliminate the easily identified incorrect answers, because that narrows your field. You're down to, ideally you want to get down to two. There's going to be two answers, both of which are right. If you spent enough time arguing for one answer, people would say, yeah, I think you're probably right. And that's the hard part of the exam. So it's which answer is more right. And a lot of times, like in that training question, the correct answer will include the other answer as kind of a subset. So you have a plan or you have a policy, and those contain aspects related to training or implementation. So that's one way they'll trick you. So easily identifying incorrect answers is a nice one. Strategic versus operations. I meant to say operational. You heard me talk about this a couple of times. Strategic, tactical, operational. Those are the three levels. And Jarrett corrected me wisely that I've been teaching that in the incorrect order. So strategic leadership. You have tactical. These are managers, and operations, hands-on keyboard. Hands-on keyboard ones are going to be easy for you most of the time, unless they're in a domain that is just not related to what you usually do. But they're pretty easy. I wouldn't worry about those. It sounds like you're pretty competent with those. The strategic or the operational ones at that manager or senior level are a little bit more tricky. So that's where I like to identify the key words. What key word tells me at what level they want me to answer the question. So if it is more about implementation, then I can be comfortable with the answer if that's what it is. But if it is strategic or operational, then okay, I maybe need to look at policy or plan or compliance, things like that instead. So I identify those as one of the next ones. Let's see, what are there any other steps I can say? So those are two of the big ones. Oh yeah, keywords. Yeah, so that I would say is a big one. Those are the three main ones that I could give you with a degree of confidence that I use. Not every test question that I get, but if I'm not confident on the answer, or if it's taking me longer than usual to answer, I'll jump to those types of strategies. I'll almost always eliminate the incorrect ones just because it makes it a lot faster. But those are the types of things I'll work on afterwards if I have to really be careful about how I'm answering.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Can I offer a 1-A?
Yeah. Sorry, say that again, Will.
I said, can I offer a 1-A?
Please do.
Another way to eliminate an answer, in a set of answers would be any absolutes, like nevers and always.
Absolutes. Yes. So. Absolutes. Yeah, great point, Will. So they might have on a question, they'll have 5 answers, and they'll have and Will, please tell me if I'm not understanding it correctly. They'll have a none of the above or an all of the above. Is that what you're referring to, Will?
No.
Okay, rephrase that for me then.
I just mean sometimes they'll in a set of answers they'll have again 2 that are very similar, but one of them will say that let's say, and I can't think of an example right now, but what they'll say is this particular function will. Oh, okay. So when talking about risk, what is the goal of security? And one of the answers might be to eliminate all risk.
Oh, yeah.
I think that was one of the answers actually in your questions.
It was.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can. I don't think I can reshare the polls on there. But yeah, one of the questions. You're exactly right. Well, thank you for correcting me. By the way, I really appreciate that. So yeah, just to rephrase that. Then the absolutes part of it is: are they trying to take a security principle and expand it to be a universal practice? Me as a security guy, I might want something to be a universal practice, but it's not a balanced business need for everything to be like we're not compliant to all regulations. We choose something based on risk, based on our business needs, and then we go out and be compliant to that. So yeah, that's a great point, is to watch for those absolutes, because it's pretty uncommon that those absolutes would apply. There are cases, but sometimes those can help you eliminate answers too.
Also, Saravan, I was going to mention you were asking about learning more about PKI. PKI is covered in Domain 3. Are you using the Learns app?
Yes.
What you can do is you can actually create a practice exam, and you can actually customize it to only include questions from Domain 3, and so that way you like drill on the topics covered in Domain 3, and that would include a lot of PKI.
Will, would you say the name of that one more time for me?
Sure, I'll actually share my screen so I can show.
Oh, that'd be great. Yeah, I'm gonna jot this down too. I'm trying to gather resources myself, because I studied for my exam a few years ago. I'm just trying to regather the current resources.
Okay, so you should be seeing, so you see the infinite thing. So this is the Learns app on the web. They only just recently made this web accessible for it. Before it was only on apps. So if you go to custom test, you can customize it to only do Domain 3, and then you can do, let's say, 25 questions, and you don't have to worry about this if you're doing this, and then get started, and it'll only ask questions that are covered in Domain 3.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Very nice. Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Will. I just bookmarked that. I want to look at that. Neat.
Personally, I like to do questions that I've answered incorrectly and all domains, and that's a good way to fill in the holes that that I don't know.
force yourself to lean into the hard stuff.
Yeah.
Good job. Yeah, we're hopeful we're working with a company that does a lot of training on this sort of stuff to try and get sets of flashcards and practice questions and such that we could use a little bit more. So yeah, I'm hopeful we'll have some additional resources we could push out soon. But, yeah. Cool. Do you guys have any other questions? My wife's out of town. I got some time if you guys want to have any other questions or things you want to chat about.
No, thanks, Josh. Like, you're
Cool.
great. You're great.
I love your questions, man. I so appreciate it. You're just really insightful. You add a lot to the conversation, so I appreciate that.
Yeah,
And you
yeah.
guys
I mean, like, I failed in the first attempt, like, and I'm going to do the second attempt.
you're gonna get it the second attempt. Remind me when your test date is.
What was that?
Remind me when your test date is. I can't remember if you had it scheduled.
No, I haven't. I have the voucher, but I haven't scheduled yet.
Okay, that's okay. We'll get
Yeah, I
there.
got the second voucher, but I did not schedule yet. Like, I want to be really, really confident, like, before I do it, because I don't want to do it next time, one more time. I want to do this is the last time I want to do.
Last time. Yep,
Yeah.
you get it.
It's this. Mine is scheduled for the 20th, or I think the 19th of August,
Wow.
and this is going to be my second time taking it. And knowing how much I know now, it's laughable that I thought I was ready the first time.
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
I mean, like, see, the first time, like, I took, right, like, there was a boot camp in my company, like, about 30 people were attended that boot camp. Like, and immediately after, I think, like, 2-3 weeks, people were, like, saying, like, I pass. Like, come
Wow.
on, like,
Oh,
what is
yeah.
going
That's
on, right?
impressive.
Yes. And then, like, everyone were, like, part of, like, cybersecurity, like, an incident response, like, those kind of teams in that team. But I am, like, a little bit outside of the cybersecurity, but I'm part of, like, an identity and access management, but I'm not, like, fully into, like, a cybersecurity, right? This is just part of mini domain, though. But even then, like, I'm into the provisioning field.
Yeah.
So then I started, like, getting into it, like, I started learning, and then I really put in, like, some 3 months of effort. And then I took all the like practice exam. The only thing I failed means is I did not practice the timing, right? So
The
I
time.
did, yes. So it was 175 questions. Like, I was able to only attend, like, 105 questions in 4 hours, because that hard, super hard. The wordings are super hard. I'm not
Yeah.
able to
Long.
understand what they're asking. The meanings are fully hidden in the question. So I mean, like, more of beta questions, I guess. Those are all, I guess, beta questions. In the first 100, probably, like, first 25 will be 50 beta questions. I totally forgot all those things, but my mind went, like, blank, and then I was keep on answering it. I don't know how come, like, the 4 hours passed, and then it says, like, we are not able to gauge you because you didn't attend to the 125.
Oh, man. That's always like running out of time is the worst way to know.
Right.
Because you might know it. You might have passed if you had another 20 minutes.
Right.
My experience was actually kind of weird. I finished that with, like, I think 4 minutes left.
Nice.
But here's what's really weird. I answered probably 165 questions.
Wow.
Which is which is strange because it's only supposed to be 150 questions if I'm not mistaken. Oh, 125, I should say. So where did those 40 other questions come
So
from?
I think it just changed. When did you take your test, Will?
I want to say March.
March. Okay, so good. Perfect. This is actually great information. Then in April, they made some changes, a couple of changes, and Rakesh, I don't think he was here tonight, but he mentioned a video that has some of the updates on things, and one of those updates is the number of questions that are on the exam. So I'm going to tell you this. I would recommend looking it up just to make sure I'm not telling you something that's wrong. My recollection is that the previous exam length, I want to say it was 125 to 175 questions. And in April, they shortened it to 100 to 150. I think that was the change.
It is.
It is? Okay, yeah.
Because I did also took the test in March, and it was 175 in 4 hours. And now it is like 3 hours and 100 to minimum 100 and then max 150.
Perfect. So fewer questions for you to worry about. Cool.
But
Awesome.
that,
Well, I hear my dog begging to be let out, so I'm gonna head off.
Okay.
Thanks, guys. I'm really proud of you, and thanks for sticking around for a few
Thank
minutes.
you.
thank you.
Have a good evening.
You guys have a good night.
Yeah,
You
bye.
too.